So welcome everybody. It's great to be part of, I think, an event like today where we're seeing the strength and the diversity and the vibrancy of the innovation network that we have here in Ireland. And IRDG as a network has been a really significant stakeholder and engager with that network for the last 25 years. And so maybe through the course of the talk today, I hope you'll come away with a better sense of what IRDG is actually about, what we're made of, what we do, a better sense of the innovation that's going on in Ireland, and also an appreciation, I suppose, for the powerful benefits that a networking and a collaborative approach can bring to your innovation efforts. So a little bit about what IRDG is, who we are. So we're an industry-led network funded exclusively by our members, which stand currently at about 250. And really what we're all about is our sole focus is about research, development and innovation. So if you're involved in that, regardless of what sector, size, Indigenous, we're a broad church in IRDG. So any involvement that you have, you're very most welcome to participate and join with us in that network. And I suppose more recently we also expanded that to include the academic institutes. And Peter in the talk beforehand, spoke about the big role that universities have to play in helping innovation activities and being sources of good ideas and good collaborators. So I said, a broad church, everybody welcome, and we work across 5 pillars. I suppose, firstly, along with being a network, we're also a representative group. So we see ourselves, we're a national voice for our members on all matters research and innovation. And in fact, going back over years, like we're 26 years in existence, one of the main things that we were instigators for was the creation of the R&D tax credits. And we've also been involved in the development of various different grant forms and grant assistance. And so in that vein, I suppose, we represent our members' views to the various different policymakers, the different departments, and also our views are sought. So it's a two-way street, and it's a good environment to have that dialogue between the policymakers and through industry. So moving on, other, I suppose, big topics that we focus on is funding and support. And again, the previous speaker, Peter, alluded to that, and earlier speakers as well, to the variety of initiatives that there are out there. And it's about helping our members navigate all that. It's such a changing landscape. It's very hard to keep on top of everything. So we will work very closely with companies on a one-to-one basis and to help them with that. And obviously networking, well, that's the theme of what today is about. It's about connecting people, connecting business to business, connecting business to academia. It's a perennial theme that we're hearing in the talks all throughout today. And we also do events, I suppose, as well, to address the issues that arise from collaboration. So, for example, last week we had a really great event around intellectual property and how companies should be aware of what they should do and how they can protect their intellectual property. And then the last piece then is about learning, and networking or innovation is a networking sport, but it also comes down to the people, and it's dependent on your skills and the talent that you have available. So it's really important to, I suppose, invest in the people and develop their skills. And we do a lot of programs here in terms of lean product development, design thinking, smart and connected devices. So these are all themes that you've heard earlier on in the talks today. Just to give you a sense, that's an overview of the network and what we're about. To give you some sense of the scale and the type of activity that we do, there's a little slide on IRDG by numbers. So I mentioned that we've a cross-sectoral group. So we've got 24 business sectors represented. So that's anything from agriculture, banking, construction, engineering, software, medical devices, pharma. I could go on. It's a very, very broad church, as I said. And all of those companies, I suppose, have within their folds about 71,000 employees. So that's who we're effectively representing and engaging with. And last year we had nearly 3,500 participations over a very broad range of 26 events. So I mentioned there about intellectual property. So grants, funding events, intellectual property, opportunities to bring people together. That's the type of activity that we engage in, that stimulates networking activity and further collaboration. And it's nice then, I suppose, just to, behind all the numbers, to put faces and to try and get an understanding of who these companies actually are. So this diagram is a splash of some, not all, of our member companies. And some of these names you'll recognise, some of these names you might not recognise. But what's consistent amongst all of these is a commitment that they have to R&D and innovation. And indeed, there is so much good innovation going on in Ireland that really probably doesn't get enough visibility. But these are the type of companies that we are engaging with. And so moving on, I suppose, to innovation and what's the current lie of the land here. So certainly at the top level, at the EU and a statistics type level, we know that innovation is happening. And last year, the European Innovation Scoreboard positioned Ireland as a strong innovator. And we always see things in the newspaper that Ireland is moving up the ranks in terms of innovation and competitiveness and so on. So lots of good things are happening out there. And we know as well that government has a huge priority and is investing significant monies into developing the R&D capabilities, both of the universities, of the infrastructure, but also stimulating business R&D activity with a view to transitioning Ireland from being a strong innovator to the top of their field. And the R&D tax credits, I suppose, is the one support that dominates that landscape. And to try and get a sense of the scale of that activity, it's useful just to look at those R&D tax credits. And granted, the data that's available goes back to 2015. It's not the most up-to-date that we have. But in 2015, so there was 708 million's worth of a R&D tax credit issued out. So by applying that as a 25% credit, you're touching on close on 3 billion euros worth of business expenditure in research and development. So that's quite a phenomenal amount of money. And given that was the figures for 2015, I think it's not a stretch to expect that number has gone significantly north from that. So a lot of R&D activity going on, but also to get a sense of the range of people who are using those tax credits. So you can see there that it's distributed amongst the small, the medium and large, but again, well dominated by small companies. So I suppose the take-home message from that is that the R&D tax credits are very relevant to every company, small, medium or large. And that's a lot of the work that we do in IRDG is around helping companies maximise and understand all the various different issues that there are with the R&D tax credits. And actually, when I think about it, we did a survey last year, and I think it was close on 80%. You'll see there's little newsletters on your desk, and the results of the survey are in that. So close on 3/4, or nearly 80% of our members are availing of that R&D tax credit. So something really very important to be aware of. And so we know the government is investing a lot in R&D, and R&D, developing R&D capabilities is a great way and a great driver of technological innovation. But of course, any good business out there knows that that's not the only show in town, and that there are lots of other ways to innovate. So you can have business model innovation, management innovation, services innovation, marketing innovation. It's not just all about products and processes. And we know that combining all of those types of innovations are what will actually drive value. I suppose coming down then and looking at the company level, we see from our members and beyond that innovation is really a significant priority for all. And that has been reinforced by a CEO Outlook report that was conducted by KPMG last year. And there was some interesting insights in that report, and I suppose one of the most striking ones was that Irish CEOs are twice as likely as their global counterparts to be expecting disruption in their sector. So that was really putting the need for innovation very high on the board agenda and at the top of the priority list. And also further insights in that report saw that 9 out of 10 companies actually saw it as an opportunity, not a threat. And even 96% were actually seeking aggressively to become disruptors in their sector. So innovation it's important, it's a top priority out there. And again, looking at our own member base, we see that companies very much are optimistic about their future, their short-term horizons. And we're starting to see now, I suppose, a more longer-term look as to what the future would hold. And I suppose people are having an honest conversation, I guess, and thinking strategically about what their real growth ambitions are and where that growth will come from. And so you can see from the graphic that we have up there, really what that is telling you is that companies are coming to the realization that doing the same old stuff will only take you so far. And that if you have strong aspirations for growth, it really needs something new and something different. And that's the challenge that companies face. So there's a gap. There's a gap to be filled. And to fill that gap, you need lots of ideas that will be of commercial benefit. And those ideas can be small, continuous improvement projects that could be large-scale, cost-saving projects, right on through to radical new approaches. And a useful way of looking at that is through the prisms of the 3 horizons. And you can see there the 3 horizons. So Horizon 1 is very much about today's activity and the actions that you're taking to generate the cash flow for today. So innovation is happening here around constantly improving your processes and making incremental innovations around your existing products and services. And Horizon 2 is about the new, it's about tomorrow, it's about the activities that will generate the cash flow for tomorrow. And I suppose really represent a step change up in the activity that you're doing. And Horizon 3, that's really about the future, where the future growth is going to come from. And I think for a company, and lots of companies do this, but if you have a commitment to innovation, it really is about pursuing those 3 horizons and activities in those 3 horizons simultaneously. Obviously, when you look here at time 0, the emphasis is going to be on Horizon 1 activities, but it's so important to start looking for pockets of activity in Horizon 2 and Horizon 3. And in reality, look, companies can get bogged down in Horizon 1. And maybe an overemphasis on very large Horizon 1 projects that get over-prioritised and that draw resources away from Horizon 2 or Horizon 3 activities. And maybe that's a scenario that rings through or that you recognise as happening in your own organisation. But it's important. These things really have to be pursued to create that pipeline. It's about a pipeline for growth and getting to the position where you will actually fill that gap that you have identified in your growth aspirations. And looking at our own members, and I suppose everybody is operating in different contexts and in different environments and have different levers and barriers in their way. Companies are using different approaches. So we see companies that are, I suppose, in a more changeable environment and that have to adapt and react really quickly, tend to try and use their customer insights, so their design thinking skills, to try and identify where those pockets of opportunity are to grow opportunities from Horizon 1 into Horizon 2. Whereas other companies who are more established sectors, maybe in sectors that are ripe for disruption, are using visioning and looking to the future, and particularly the opportunities that technology brings to identify particular projects in Horizon 3. But I suppose at the back of it all, the 3 horizons, the approach, it's a way of looking at innovation. It's still quite another thing. You have to go and manage it. And there's where we see the power of the network. It's hard to go it alone. When you're pursuing that kind of a strategy, that long-term growth, there's going to be uncertainties, there's going to be risks. You don't have all the knowledge, the resources, the expertise. There's so many gaps there, and that it's important that you don't have to go it alone. So the networking, collaborating, that is an approach in order to help you get to where you want to be. As I said, our network is a resource that's out there. It's built on the philosophy, I suppose, of openness, and that's enabled, I guess, by the cross-sectoral representation that we have. So it certainly removes issues of confidentiality a lot of the time and competition. So we have a network that's very vibrant, very open. And as a result of that, it enables lots of transparent knowledge sharing. And that sharing fosters innovation, obviously coming from different diverse sources, which in turn reinforces the openness. And I think that little diagram there, that philosophy of how our network works, has been the secret to our endurance over the last 26 years. So it's a methodology that works, it's there to be leveraged. And the network, I guess, really plugs you into 3 types of communities. The first community is your community of innovators. So people out there, exactly like you, who have the same roles as you in various other companies. So you can find out what are other people doing, how are they addressing the challenges that I have in my company today. Another type of company you can be plugged into is a community of experts. So people with specific disciplines within specific tools or particular aspects of innovation that helps you can plug into that community as well. And the last community that you can plug into as part of this network is the scientific community. And we see a lot of talks and a lot of stands out there about the value of that. So it's about, I suppose, looking at the network as an extension of your organisation and tapping into that. So coming to the benefit of networks, what's the most, I suppose, immediate benefit that you can get? And that's really about learning from others. We run innovation practice groups. That's one thing that we do. And really what that is about, it's about member companies opening their doors, inviting other members in and sharing what they are doing, are the tools, the tips, the techniques they have for managing innovation. So you can imagine, from a cross-sectoral point of view, that's a really valuable learning experience because you're seeing how companies in other sectors are addressing the challenges that you have as well. And you can see up there from the slide, there's just some of the splash or some of the examples of the companies that we have visited. And we've extended that as well into the idea of smart and connected devices and everything about the Internet of Things. We heard Ken Finnegan this morning from the IDA, talking about all the various different technologies that are coming down the track. And our approach on this is about really taking a business focus. So we utilise our members in our network who are active in this particular area. And they host events, for example, and we pull a big agenda around that particular location. And it's really about bringing people together, imparting information on the various technologies that there are out there, but also looking about case studies, how people are actually implementing these in the ground and addressing the business issues, because ultimately people want to adopt these technologies to make money. So we are addressing things like business models. How can you actually get to implementation? It's great to know about all of these things. It's quite another thing to know how you're actually going to make money out of them. Another way we spoke about, we're a network with 71,000 employees represented, and the importance of people and the need to develop skills and invest in your people, invest in the resource that you have in your company. And that's a big theme that we have in IRDG. And two of the things I just want to talk very quickly about are, and you've heard them mentioned earlier on, I think, particularly design thinking and lean product development. And they are two big tools in the innovator's toolbox. And design thinking, there was mention of it in earlier talks as well. And the importance of design thinking. It's a way, I suppose it's a buzzword that has been out since about 2015, and companies have spent a lot of money and investing to try and understand what it actually means. But for me, I think it boils down it's a mindset and a process. And I guess it really challenges businesses to think more closely about what their customer needs are. And not the express needs, but the unexpressed needs as well. and harnessing those and understanding their problems a little bit more so that you can deliver a far better customer experience for them. And so we run programs, I suppose IRDG, we would see ourselves as having played a pioneering role in this particular space, because we have different, I suppose, ways of imparting that information out there. So we started a number of years back with conferences, and really they were about showing how design thinking can have an impact in companies. And we've grown that on and grown that approach now that we have special interest groups. We've trained over something like 250 executives in the principles and the tools of design thinking, and we have a nice close-knit practice group that share experiences and learning. And I suppose for people out there who are interested in trying to get to that design thinking mindset, it really helps if you have, a map, a tool set, people to collaborate with. And there's where we offer masterclasses in that particular space, and it really gives you an opportunity to give a deep dive into the tools and how they can be used to address issues relating to business growth. And I suppose one of the nice examples that we have from one of our members who have used design thinking is Kilsha. And I don't know if you know this, but Kilsha have, I think it's about 1/8 of the land mass in the country. And they were struggling, I guess, to find ways to monetize that. The revenue really had just been coming from parking barriers, really, and that wasn't exceeding 100,000 per year. So the challenge was to try and find ways to monetize the asset that they have, the product essentially of what they have. And so they undertook the design thinking program, and through that they did a lot of customer engagements. They engaged with consumers to try and understand how they could develop an offering in there. And I suppose at the beginning the prevailing assumption was that, the general public think this is free land, we shouldn't have to pay for these type of things, we wouldn't pay for a cycle track or an orienteering route or something like that. So Kilsha embarked upon this consumer research and identify insights. And through that process, they saw opportunities and they saw engagement and appetite around things like adventure, holidays, outdoor camping, all of that kind of thing. And so they developed that, they saw an opportunity around that. But through the research, they found out, though, that the brand carrier for that should not be Kilsha. And so as a result of all of the insights and the research and using the tools of design thinking, they have now got to the stage where they have sold the concept and the space, which is Lockheed, Forest Park, to Centre Parks. And Centre Parks, as you might know, are opening in summer 2019. So Kilsha managed to swing an amazing deal for themselves, and all that really can be attributed back to their views and how they use design thinking and how they understood the customer experience to create a value. So monetizing the assets, the product that they have. So it's a powerful tool that can be used both at the product and at the process level. So, companies can use that internally because it's not all about the external customer. You've got internal customers as well in your own organization. So design thinking, it can be used at the product, at the process level, at service level, customer experience, but also at the strategic level about how you can drive growth. The other big theme that we have is lean product development. We know that the pace of business is moving on at a frightening speed, and really what that means for design themes is you've got to be fast, you've got to be effective, you've got to get the right product out the door as quick as you possibly can. And we took those soundings from our members, and we've been engaging with Ron Massatelli. He's an expert on lean product development from the States. And we've licensed his material, and we've developed programs around that. And we actually just started that last year. The work goes back a few years. We had Ron Massatelli over a number of times, but the demand, I suppose, has grown given the environment that companies are operating in, and we now have our own courses in that area. And we see companies using that as a way to, number one, maximise the customer value from what their offerings are, and two, it's all about eliminating waste in things like their planning processes, resourcing, communications, and all that kind of good stuff. And we've been running those programs, and we've seen companies use them for things like improving the number of concepts that they generate in order to drive good customer outcomes. We have seen companies use the tools to, I suppose, implement better processes around project selection, because that's such a huge issue. We talked earlier about Horizon 1 and things getting bogged down. So prioritization is a big deal as well. And also other companies have used the tools to other impacts. So they've seen more predictable schedules. So they've been able to run more projects concurrently with the same resources. So a really important issue to address when you're looking to scale and to drive on your work. So they're just two of the type of training events that we do that can help build and develop skills for your employees. And of course, the other thing is that no talk would be complete about research and innovation unless the money came into the picture. And we've developed this infographic. I'm not going to go through it, but it's important to understand that knowing the supports and the schemes that are available to you is really important. And you'll see that infographic, it's actually in the wee brochures that's on the chair. So you can have a look at that and take that with you. Again, we did a survey. You'd think that people are better, they have good knowledge around the various different schemes. But in our survey, we've learned that, nearly half of people still struggle to understand what is the right scheme for me. How am I eligible? Am I eligible for this? Am I eligible for that? What can I use these schemes for? So we developed this infographic to try and simply explain the various different supports and how they can be used. So you see those first three, the dark blue barriers, that's all about R&D supports for in your company, in-company activity. That orangey one is all about collaboration supports. And that light blue one then is all about supports that you can use to access research, development and innovation skills. Now, you can, of course, speak to your Enterprise Ireland and your IDA advisor and they'll take you through all of this. But you can also talk to us as well, because we make it our business to inform ourselves on all the various different types of national, international and EU schemes that there are out there. And we'll also help you write applications as well, because there's a huge administrative burden. In our survey as well, we found that 40% saw the administration around application and the drawdown of funds as a significant barrier to even participating in these. So again, that's one of the benefits of this network. We'll sit down and work with you on a one-to-one basis to help you get to that place where you can get the best application in that you can to drive your R&D efforts. And certainly if you want to talk any more about that, we'd be very happy to do that out there. So I suppose maybe just to wrap it up with a question, it's out to you. It's what's your strategy? Is it business as usual, or is it drive on ahead and pursue the opportunities that are out there? And if it's the latter, I suppose the call to action really is to be outward looking, look across your horizons, understand the landscape, what's out there. Utilise networks like ourselves and treat them like an extended or an extension of your own organisation. Put them to good use. And also, put emphasis on your people. Enhance their skills, enhance the training, and it will all pay off in the end. So, and then come talk to us. Thank you.